Why, hello and welcome everybody, it is Pohx again. So today we're gonna go over the different types of PvP in Blade and Soul and kind of, what you have to gain, or not gain, but, what there is really to do in PvP. So today we're gonna be showcasing some 3 versus 3 PvP, which basically isn't necessarily 3v3, it's more like 1v1 tag team. You have 3 people on each side. You can see on the left is our team, and on the right is the enemy team. Basically the way it works is you have one person fighting one person at once, and you have the ability to interfere. You can see my interfere is on cooldown for 5 seconds. For 5 seconds you can disorient the enemy player, you can help your ally, you can disorient an other enemy who is interfering in. There's kind of a lot of cool combinations you can do, and like some, for example, which makes it kind of interesting, is say you're doing your standard 1v1 in the tag team and you have somebody in an aerial combo. The enemy could tag in and interfere with your combo to save his ally. Or, for example, your ally could interfere to additionally, destroy the guy for 5 seconds while his defenses are down. So it kind of brings in a really cool immersion to PvP, and really is a ton of fun with your friend. Because you try to, you guys try to coordinate and calculate, like, alright man, I got my CC going down, alright, tab in, go! And then you go and just, it's really fun. On the flip side, you could really fuck your friends over if, say an enemy tags in and they're about to do a combo and you're like invisible, you like walk in front of them and then tag your friend in and then your friend dies. But we're not going to talk about that, okay? So that's your standard 3v3. It gives quite good experience. You get, I think, like 30% of the experience of a win if you lose, which is a lot better than 1v1s. In 1v1s, you don't get anything if you lose. It's just like, goodbye, get better. Alright, so then we're going to explain a little bit about 1v1s, which is really simple. Now, one thing to note is in your 3v3, or your tag team, and on top of your tag team, in your 1v1, you both have a rating. It's kind of like League of Legends, if you guys are familiar with that. You have rating tiers, and you get promoted, etc. Although you don't have to, do anything special. Also, all gear in the arena is equalized. The only thing that's different is you're not max level. You have to actually level to max level, meaning you do not have all your skills and all your skill points if you're not max level, and that does affect you quite a bit. There's some classes that take to level 40 to scale, some scale at level 30, so that is definitely one thing to note, that if you want to get the full experience of PvP in Arena, I would recommend getting level 45. Again, you do get experience through Arena. It's not the best, but it is something. Next up, we've got Open World PvP. Open World PvP is basically based on your faction. You have 2 main factions. You have, I forgot exactly what they're called. There's the Cerulean Order, and there's some other one. It's like red versus blue. And those are your main factions, right? By wearing the costume of the faction you represent is what flags you and enables you for PvP against the enemy faction. Furthermore, the enemy NPCs. This is a really cool thing though, because you have areas in the game where basically you have like world bosses, and the world bosses are divided by factions. So you can only enter them by doing so and so. So I thought that was really cool. And there's a lot of meaning towards it. You can use the faction tokens you get for upgrading things and getting new costumes, and I think maybe you can get a soul shield set from it. I could be incorrect on that part. So now I'm going to explain a little bit on what makes PvP in Blade and Soul different than other games. So for example, if you look at my character right now while I'm playing, you can see I'm under a fire list, and now I'm ice. Now I'm fire, now I'm ice. Now I'm well, actually, maybe I'm saying backwards. If you look at the bottom bar of my keybinds, it's continuously changing. And this is just explaining Force Master, for example, but basically, if you're in fire stance, you have different skills. If you're in ice stance, you have different skills. If you're stunned, you have different skills. If you're grabbed, you have different skills. If you're grabbing someone, you have different skills. If you're in the air, you have different skills. If you're, like, basically everything you do in the game will change your keybinds depending on what impairment or what status effect you're under. And what this does is this kind of pulls away the natural MMO feeling of looking at your keybinds and saying, I know what my combo is. You actually, you physically have to, like, it's all muscle memory, because you have to know, when I get someone into this combo, I can get them into this. When I'm under this impairment, I need to use this skill. And it really adds a whole new element of depth to the game, which can either be really good or really bad. It's definitely a lot more learning in Blade and Soul, because, again, you can't see everything. You have to remember everything. And that does make the game very difficult, and that's why I'm not very good at it. Usually MMOs, that's my time to shine, and Blade and Soul, that's not happening. I've put a good, like, I don't know, 70 hours into the game, 80 hours into the game, and I don't know anything about it yet, which is surprising for me. So if you want a difficult game, this is probably the one you're going to go for PvP. Furthermore, with it as well, you have different ways you can kind of specialize your character. which I showcased in a lot of previous videos before. But basically, if you open up your skills tab with K, you can reset anywhere you want as long as you're not in combat, and resetting can drastically change a skill. Whether it's adding a new element property to it, whether it's, you know, making it a gap closer, whether it's literally turning the skill into a new skill, or doubling the cooldown. So there's so many different ways you can change your character. And again, certain skills will now combo into other skills. So for example, say you use, you know, Dragon Hellfire Kick, right? And your standard Dragon Hellfire Kick will just punch someone in the face with their foot. Don't ask how that works, but it does. And then say you specialize 2 points into it, Dragon Hellfire Kick now readies a gap closer. So now your whole combo changes on how to, you know, gap close to an enemy. Sometimes you'll just use a skill in the air just to put you into another stance with certain classes. And it really brings in this whole new cool feel of immersion to the game that most people aren't used to. Also, Blade and Soul is all based off animations from my personal experience. You know, it's not like it's going to say block above a person's head or immune or anything. It doesn't work like that. It'll say like resist, but you physically have to learn so much about the other classes. You know, you have to understand what an enemy's combo looks like, when they're trying to bait you into a combo, what their big stuns are, what you should be CC breaking. And you know, this is kind of the same for any other game, but again, with Blade and Soul, since there's so many different ways you can combo someone, it is extremely important to know what every class can kind of do, if that kind of makes sense. Don't ask why I zoomed in there. You know, everyone needs to have some alone time. Alright, boys, so that's pretty much going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this segment of the PvP. We'll be having one more video coming up about Blade and Soul. And remember, if you're interested, Blade and Soul comes out January 19th. If you do pre-order the game, or if you had early access, sorry, if you purchase the Founders Pack, you can play the game on the 15th. But again, that's pretty much going to be it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. I will see you guys all tomorrow. If you liked the video, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, you can always check me streaming at twitch.tv/Pohx. Have a wonderful time, everybody. I'm out.